news stories for you. Firstly, World Athletics Championships, where Ethiopia won another gold today. Now, how many medals have been won by Ethiopia? What is Ethiopian position on medals table? Second news story is from Somalia, where US Africa Command conducted an airstrike on Al Shabaab fighters in Jubaland a few hours ago. And a video clip from Somalia showing how free is a journalist in Somalia. Thirdly, we have a new story from the Amhara region. Some Amharic news outlet journalists were arrested more than a month ago despite bails granted by Bahidar courts. The journalists were not released. They were shifted to Addis Ababa, but today they were released. Fourthly, we have no story about Ethiopian Islamic Affairs Supreme Council, top body representing Muslims living in Ethiopia. We saw that a few weeks ago rather. This organization split into two groups, one led by Mufti Haji Umar Idris and the other led by Ibrahim Tofa. And today at Sheraton Hotel of Addis Ababa, this organization elected a new General Assembly, Executive Committee and President, Vice President. But the other group led by Mufti Haji Umar Idris, Haji Umar Idris was not seen at today's Sheraton Hotel meeting. Fifthly, Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia. Last week we reported that dozens of Eritrean refugees were arrested near Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital, and they were then forcibly shifted to Dabat refugee camp in Amhara region of Ethiopia. And we have seen several statements from international refugee bodies urging Ethiopian government not to forcibly shift refugees from Addis Ababa to Dabat. And it is being said that some refugees have been released at Dabat refugee camp of Amhara region. And lastly, Tigray has at last formed a committee of negotiators. We know that Ethiopian government has formed a committee of negotiators, 7-member committee led by Demake Mekonnen, and it was being said that peace process was being delayed because Tigray had not formed a committee. Tigray was laying out some preconditions before the start of talks. But Tigray has formed a committee. It has been confirmed today. Who confirmed it? What does it indicate? Tigray was saying that no talks until resumption of basic services in Tigray. Firstly, World Athletics Championships, and the gold for Ethiopia. It was Letisambet Gede who won first gold medal for Ethiopia 2 days ago in 10,000 meter race. Then last night Tamara Tola won men's marathon, and today Ethiopian lady Gotetom Gabre Selassie won women marathon in the US. So third gold medal for Ethiopia. 3 gold medals and 1 silver medal for Ethiopia. Ethiopia has clinched 4 medals so far. US is at number 1 with 14 medals, 6 gold, 4 silver, 4 bronze. Ethiopia is at number 2, 4 medals, 3 gold, 1 silver. Derato Tulo has also been seen hugging, welcoming, crying, encouraging her runners. She is Ethiopian Athletics Federation's president. She was seen tying shoelaces of the athletes as well. Great lady, and she deserves to be a leader, president of Ethiopian Athletics Federation. And we know that Tigray conflict has affected all institutions in Ethiopia. ENDF is going through a phase of recovery, and all institutions are seeing splits. But Derato Tulo managed to keep this athletics institution intact. Tigrayan athletes are competing at international level. Some athletes who are winning medals are Tigrayans. I am not talking about the ethnicity of these athletes. Why? Because in the US at World Athletics Federation, World Athletics Championships, these athletes are introducing themselves as Ethiopians. We have not seen any Tigray or Oromia flags. We have seen Ethiopian flags there. These athletes are introducing themselves as Ethiopians. At least there is one institution in Ethiopia where these winners, champions are introducing themselves as just Ethiopians. Perhaps one of the remaining hopes for Ethiopian Federation, that there is one institution where people are being represented as Ethiopians only. That is why I'm not mentioning their ethnicities, though we're seeing posts, messages by different news outlets of different regions of Ethiopia sharing the achievements of athletes from their ethnic group. Tremendous achievement from Ethiopian athletes that Ethiopia is at number 2 so far on medals table. An Eritrean athlete finished at number 4 in a women marathon today. Her name is Nazareth Waldo. She improved her personal best and national record in today's competition. She could not make it to the podium, victory podium. She stood at 4th position. Now, second issue from Somalia, viewers, where we know that Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud's government has approved redeployment of US Special Forces. During Farmajo era, US withdrew its special forces from Somalia. But after Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud came to power, US redeployed its special forces to Somalia, and operation against Al-Shabaab has intensified. Today, US Africa Command conducted an airstrike on some Al-Shabaab members. A strike was conducted in Jubaland state of Somalia near a place called Likibus in Jubaland. Here an Al-Shabaab convoy was targeted. According to US Africa Command, 2 Al-Shabaab fighters were killed in this attack. No civilians were killed or injured. So, US, Somalia's National Army, Ethiopia, Kenya, regional international powers have decided to crush Al-Shabaab. We have seen such drone strikes, air strikes, and military offensives on Al-Shabaab in the past as well. But this time it seems that Somalia's government is focused, that it must counter, it must contain and wipe out Al-Shabaab. Let's see what happens. But Airstrikes are underway and military offensives, small-scale military offensives against Al-Shabaab are also being launched by Somalia's government. Another news story from Somalia showing a journalist of a network, a news network, Ladi Media Network, was detained by security forces today in Mogadishu. Why was the journalist detained? Well, the crime of the journalist was that he was covering floods. He was covering damage suffered by roads due to floods. The journalist was reporting with flooded road on his back, showing vehicles finding it difficult to move along the road because of the water on the road. And while he was reporting, he was assaulted by Somalia's police officials. He was beaten, he was detained, his equipment was confiscated, he is still in custody. So you see that the only crime of this journalist was that he was reporting flooded roads, situation of roads after floods in Mogadishu, in Banadir region of Somalia. He was arrested. Reportedly, he was mildly injured too. He has not been released so far. Watch this small clip showing the journalist reporting when he was assaulted by Somalia's police.
dhibaatooyin weyn ka hay dadka meelan ku nool iyadoo xusud mudan in xitaa cawisho weyn ku muujiyaan biyaha iyo.
Thirdly, viewers, a new story from the Amhara region of Ethiopia. Some Amharic news outlet journalists were arrested more than a month ago. Ashara media journalists, Nasser media journalist, and an activist from Amhara region, Tina Bale, were arrested around 2 months ago. They were granted bail, but Bahidar police did not release them. They were shifted to Addis Ababa, but at last today they were released from a prison in Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital. You can see pictures of these journalists. Tina Bale can also be seen. At last the journalists have been released. Still thousands of Fano fighters, some activists, some political workers, journalists like Tamaskan Dasalin and several others are in detention in different prisons of Amhara region and other parts of Ethiopia. The operation started, this mass arrest campaign started after Ethiopian government forces, regional forces launched a military operation against Fano militia, their supporters, their fighters more than 2 months ago, mainly in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. Fourthly, we have a new story about Ethiopian Islamic Affairs Supreme Council, top Muslim organization in Ethiopia, which split into two groups a few weeks ago. One led by former President Mufti Haji Umar Idris, and the other led by Sheikh Ibrahim Tofa from the Oromia region of Ethiopia. PM Abiy's government intervened. A meeting was held a few days ago, and then today at Sheraton Hotel of Addis Ababa, Ethiopian Islamic Affairs Supreme Council representatives from regions held a meeting, and new General Assembly, new executive committee has been elected. 14-member new executive committee has been elected with 14 members from 14 regions and cities of Ethiopia. President and Vice President have also been elected. Ibrahim Tofa from the Oromia region of Ethiopia will head this organization for the next 3 years, and Abdul Karim Badreddin will serve as the Vice Chairman of this organization. Where is Haji Umar Idris, who was former chairman of this organization? We have not heard anything from Haji Umar Idris so far, but reportedly 261 out of 300 General Assembly members from across Ethiopia, they attended today's election, and new executive committee chairman, vice chairman have been elected. Fifthly, viewers, Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia are suffering in Afar, in Amhara, in Tigray. Last week, around 100 were arrested near Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital, and they were forcibly shifted to Amhara region at the Bath refugee camp. Then we saw statements from international refugee bodies urging Ethiopian government not to mistreat Eritrean refugees. International refugee bodies asked Ethiopian government to respect the rights of refugees. Now, reportedly, 9 refugees, Eritrean refugees at the Bath camp have been released, and some others are about to be released. Lastly, Tigray today announced the formation of negotiators committee. We know that last month Ethiopian PM Abiy's government formed a committee to hold talks with Tigray representatives. 7-member committee led by Damake Mekonnen is waiting for Tigray mediators. Ethiopian government's mediators committee held an internal meeting a few days ago. 7 members were seen there. Tigray's nomination was awaited, and today Tigray confirmed that it has formed a committee to hold talks with Ethiopian government's representatives. Interestingly, Tigray government, Tigray leaders were taking this position that there was no point in holding talks because Tigray was under siege. Electricity, banking, telecom was suspended. So it was being speculated that there wouldn't be any talks until there is resumption of basic services in Tigray. But now it seems that Tigray has changed its position a little. Basic services still suspended, no electricity, no telecom, no banking, but Tigray has formed a committee. Gata Choreda today confirmed, talking to some international news outlets, that Tigray has formed a committee. So far, names have not been made public, but Getachew has confirmed that negotiators' names have been finalized. But at the same time, he again shared Tigray's concerns about African Union, that only African Union should not be leading the mediation process. So it means that Tigray wants involvement of other mediators too. Meanwhile, while Tigray and Ethiopian federal governments are about to start talks, Daniel Kebre, who is advisor to PM Abiy, very close to PM Abiy, just 48 hours ago he spoke. And once again he lashed out at TPLF. He said TPLF should not exist in Ethiopia. He is known for these hateful, fiery speeches. But government has formed a committee, though some government officials, some supporters of the government are not in support of these talks. At least Ethiopian federal government, Tigray regional government, they have formed committees, and in coming I will try to update you about the names of Tigray's mediators. We have shared 7 names of Ethiopian government side, but names of Tigray mediators are yet to be made public by Tigray government. So in coming hours, the names will be made public. A good development, at least, that talks are about to start. Thank you for watching.